If I haven't had the opportunity to meet you before, my name is Louisa Higgins. I'm with Riverside County Office of Education. I'm the Visual and Performing Arts Administrator, and I'm really excited today, even more than usual. I'm always excited about our webinars, but this one is very unusual and distinct in that it's a multi-partnership, Cal State University San Marcos, the STEAM Ambassadors, and the New Children's Museum. And it is being presented by student teachers, so people who are soon to join us in the field. So I think that's incredible. And so I know you'll all join me in supporting them, hopefully keeping your cameras on so they have good feedback. And they put together this marvelous kit. They really spent the time and energy doing that. So I'm really excited about this ability to learn about how we can use the arts to enhance our classrooms and make them a vibrant and dynamic place. So I'm going to hand it off to our host, Amy Bernoli of the STEAM Ambassadors. Take it away, Amy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Bernoli, and I just want to thank you all for being here. We're so excited to share the work we've been doing and these kits that we've put together. So we are the STEAM Ambassadors with Cal State San Marcos, and we came together because of Art Equals Opportunity, which is led by the amazing Dr. Meryl Goldberg, and through a generous grant with the Clarence E. Heller Foundation. So through them, we were able to get going, get this started. And for those of you who don't know, STEAM is an acronym that is for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So our main goal is really getting those art and VAPA standards into those subjects that some kids find super daunting. So science and math and technology can be kind of scary subjects for kids, but getting the arts involved in it a lot of times makes it more engaging for them. And of course, we found that research shows and all the new technology, like companies like Google, have found that if you have a strong art background, then it does make those subjects really more simple and easy for you. So we hope that what you take away from this workshop is that we will be learning how to integrate art and science and how that builds confidence and empathy in young students. We will be partaking in an art and science exercise that explores how we see the world and how our eyes see. And we will be demystifying the science of light and color while building a rainbow maker to hang in your window. So lots of exciting stuff. And just a little bit about what we've been able to do in our classroom. So those of us who are STEAM ambassadors, most of us are student teachers, as Louisa said. And as I'm sure all of you have experienced, this year has been kind of crazy. We were in the classroom, out of the classroom, back in the classroom, out of the classroom. We just kind of had to roll with it. So some of our challenges were being able to create experiences that both our virtual and in-person students could do. So we came up with a lot of activities using common household materials so that we could really engage the students in both. And we came up with a lot of activities that involve storytelling and collaboration and lots of hands-on learning, because we found that those are the activities that really help build empathy and confidence, like in our students. So we are very thankful to be part of this organization and to be doing what we're doing. So we're going to now go ahead and go into some breakout rooms so that you all can discuss what your area of education is, what your interest in STEAM is, and how you've been able to do STEAM during COVID. So we'll just take a few minutes to discuss and get to know one another. So here we go.
Lucy, I didn't put you or Meryl into a room, but you're welcome to
That's
jump
good.
into
No,
it.
this is perfect because that way I can
Okay.
handle the slides. Thank you.
Okay, it gives them a little time to do their thing.
Yeah, I'm happy to go into a room though.
Okay, do you see, can you, Jessica, can you send Merle into a room?
Yes, I can.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so what, maybe room 2 or 3 has the most teachers, or no, I think 2.
Got it.
Thank goodness for texting, Jessica. We're on all platforms. We're texting, we're emailing.
Well, is someone recording as well?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, good. Do you want to pause the record or have you already done it?
No, I usually just go all the way through because if I pause the record, I sometimes forget to put it back on.
Oh, good point.
So,
Good, good.
I like this manner of the introduction. What's your area? What's your interest? Have you done any STEAM yet?
Nice. You know, I only asked because it didn't ask me, it didn't tell me we were recording.
It tells me because I'm the host.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay. I should know
like I
this by
said, that's
now.
one
I
of the
should be
big
a,
values.
I should totally be a pro. I should be a pro at this. And
Right. I think that's one of the values of distance communication. You know, we used to do live presentations, and depending on your feeling about it, send the PowerPoint slides. I don't know how often people are able to go and click through a PowerPoint afterwards, but being able to view the recording almost as if you were there seems to have value.
oh yeah, it's
So,
great.
like, if you're a person watching this as a recording, you could just fast forward through 5 minutes and miss the breakout session time and come back to the slides. So,
Great.
yeah. What a great team you have there. They look like really dynamic young teachers.
Oh, the STEAM ambassadors, they're exciting. They're wonderful to work with.
I'm sure. I was a master teacher 6 times before I came out of the classroom. So I have a special place in my heart for student teachers.
Wow, that's
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, but I loved it. And I think I was about 5 years in teaching. And my principal came to me and said, would you like to be a master teacher? And I said, I don't think I've been doing it long enough. She said, you have.
Oh,
You have. I want
that's
you
a
to
nice opportunity to mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved it. I really did. So, and I'm excited to be able to do these kits because if I'm teaching, I don't get to do anything. and sometimes even when I'm hosting, I don't do it because I'm busy watching everything, you know?
Definitely.
And by the way, Jessica added the questions to the survey. So your questions are there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
All right, 60 seconds, 49 seconds. The countdown.
Great.
Who designed the slides, Amy? I mean, Lucy, sorry. Oh,
It was a group effort.
they're very nice. Very well done.
Good.
Okay, I think we're back and ready to go on.
Perfect. I'm going to hand it over now to one of my colleagues.
Hi, everyone. I am the colleague STEAM ambassador. My name is Tara Durham. I am currently in my credential program, graduated in May. Super, super excited. Last semester, I student taught in 2nd grade, and I'm currently doing 4th grade now. And you'll see how these activities are, you can put these lessons into your classroom so perfectly because I was able to do with my kiddos this semester. So I'm going to talk about the IC and some of the physics of light. So as I said, it's a perfect opportunity to implement these STEAM lessons in my 4th grade class. And the overall standard for the IC activities is 4-PS4-2. Develop a model to describe the light reflecting from objects and entering the eye allows objects to be seen. So that's the main standard of the overall activities that you can do over that. So to bring these into the classroom, the first thing I had to do was give my students background knowledge on how the eye functions. I created a little PowerPoint and we just labeled the eye a little bit and learned about the important parts of the eye. And then we moved into the optic flyer, what you're seeing now. During this activity, my students had the opportunity to see how the way the light enters the eye can be just like a camera, just like how the camera works. And there's another activity later that you'll see that connects to this as well. So you can input this in your classroom so perfectly by explaining an eye, and you can have a diagram like our little eye here, a hands-on model for your students. And you can see that it has the label of the eye here, and you can show them just like this flyer does. You can also have a camera. You can use this flyer camera. So you have a visual for your students and you can say, well, this part of the eye connects perfectly to this part of the camera. So now they have a realistic visual as well with an eye and a hands-on model that they use every day, a camera. And then my students were ready to start the IC project. So they used their background knowledge about how the eye worked, and they were able to connect how we see with our eyes to how we see the world around us. This allowed me to reach a deeper level with my students. They had to use more higher order thinking, and they were able to realize that we all have the same parts in our eye, but we all see the world differently. And that's what this next activity that you'll learn from Piggy is all about. They were able to use and understand that, yeah, we all have the same parts in our eye, but I see the world differently than the person sitting next to me. And they were able to have those communications and those conversations together about that. And you'll learn from Piggy here. I'm done. I'm about to be done. I can talk and talk. But you'll see how it fits perfectly into the standard-based curriculum that you can add in there.
Thank you, Tara. Hello, everyone. I'm Piggy. I'm with the New Children's Museum as the Early Childhood Specialist. I'm really excited to introduce this, this project as it was originally created for my students who are primarily teen mothers. So this project was a really important way of really connecting with one another. And it was really about that conversation piece, kind of similar to what Tara was explaining. So it was really about taking the time to reflect personally, individually, and just reflect of what they saw happening in the world, in their own personal experiences, in their life. And the great thing about it was that it kind of gave an opportunity for the girls to see where they actually shared similarities and differences. So it was a great way to incorporate relationship building, empathy, and just getting to know each other and having them have time to really reflect. Sometimes they're always on the go. It's hard to kind of keep track of what's happening. So when they took time to just sit, reflect, you know, it's a really great way to really tie into all areas of learning. So I have this standard right here. The great thing about this project is it's really adaptable to all ages, depending on how your students are exploring. So this is just a 3rd grade standard from the National Core Arts Standard. So elaborating visual information by adding details in an artwork to enhance emerging meaning. So when it comes to the standards, it's really about kind of reflecting on your students' needs, what's relatable to them, areas you can challenge. So yeah, I just threw that in there. But we could go to the next slide. Okay, so once again, I'm excited to introduce this. Before we get into it, I do want to take a moment to have you all like kind of maybe review and check out the supplies that we're gonna need. And they're fairly simple. It's just cardstock canvas. So in your kit, there should be blank paper in there. You might have like a permanent marker, black Sharpie. If you don't, you could use whatever you have on hand, black pen or whatnot. And then just colored markers, really simple, right? So here on my lesson plans, I usually put values like classroom culture that we usually develop. So that's a big part of how I usually work with my students. And I think we could go to the next slide. All right, so if everyone's ready, we can start engaging in some art. So if you want to give me a thumbs up or a wave so I know you found everything. Thank you. Feel free to ask questions if you need clarification. So we'll start at number 1. So it's really just about incorporating your own style. So some artists like more realistic art. Some friends like more cartoon style, that's me. So just depending on your own style, just kind of reflect on how you want to incorporate this art piece. So in the middle, in the center, you would just kind of begin by drawing an eye. If you'd like to kind of draw it big, that's fine. It's up to you if you want to create a smaller eye. But from here, you're just going to create and explore with your eyeball. And then from there, we're going to add layers to it. So we'll take a moment to just start there. I don't know if you could see my table. Okay, so I'm going to draw with you all. And feel free to share your process too. This is something I always encourage our students, especially in Zoom times. We oftentimes will kind of just share our process as we go along and kind of share and build off ideas. So feel free to kind of share out your own thoughts, or you could type in the chat box.
About how much drawing time are we going to have, just so we can kind of keep track?
From here, maybe about like 10 more minutes. It's a really brief kind of art flow where you can take some time to reflect. So while you're drawing your eye, you can kind of reflect on some things that are happening in the world or in your life. This is also a great way to build conversation with your students too. So as you're doing it yourself, you can kind of figure out what kind of questions you'd like to ask your students or what would be relatable for them. I mean, this is really awesome how you can connect the optics and all that stuff too. So that's what's really great about STEAM. So once you draw your basic eye outline, you can start exploring. I have here a technique of the day. So depending on your age group or what you're all exploring with, you can implement an art technique. It doesn't have to be this one necessarily, but for my students at the time who were teenagers, they were really interested in hand styles and handwriting. So exploring with thick and thin lines was a great way to connect their interests and some of the previous things that we were learning and exploring with before. And once you start creating outline, like I have a really rough outline here, you can start to add details if you'd like, whether it's certain shapes or shading. It's really up to you. This is a great way to incorporate your own personal style. I do also want to, something that we do in my classes too is we always like adapt to certain situations or ideas. So for example, even with our younger friends, like as young as preschoolers, like even incorporating tracing, fine motor development. So it's kind of implementing, like I said before, the needs of your students or things you want to challenge them with. And just incorporating like everyday household items. We use cups a lot as tracing. So those are just ideas. And just even encouraging certain shapes that you could explore with. Proportion and sizing, for example.
So besides the working of the eye, is this art project focusing on what students actually see in the outside world?
Yeah, so this is our next part that we're gonna kind of reflect on. So once you have your eye, this is where we go into kind of conversation pieces. So depending on how you want to build conversation with your students, and we could do this here as adults, or you could put yourself in the shoes of your children. Maybe you know some of the things that they might be experiencing. So it really is taking a moment to reflect. So thinking about, what do you see happening outside? What are some experiences that you may be currently going through? You could even tailor it to like school specific, like what do you see happening in the playground or, you know, in your classroom? And you could build off certain concepts, even with like friendship, just different concepts, you know, that would be meaningful for them. And it's also a great way to build, for your students to build with each other, kind of sharing experiences or sharing feelings about things, whether it's out there in the world or even personal experiences. I'm sure during these times, a lot of students are back in the classrooms possibly, and I bet they have a lot of updates to share of what they saw during the past year. So it's a great way to incorporate experiences through art. So here's where we could take a moment to just reflect. So this is the part where I encourage students to take it and adapt it to their own style. So around your eye is where you would draw your perspective of what you see happening in your life. So you could either write the words, you could draw images, symbols. It's really up to you. In my example here, it was primarily words, and then from there we add color to it. I'm not sure how I am on time. Does someone have the time?
We have about 5 minutes.
Okay, so perfect. So from here, let's, Lucy, do you mind if, okay, we're already on the right page. Thank you, I appreciate it. So from here, you can begin adding color once you kind of draw your perspectives after that. So feel free to kind of share what you have so far, if you are willing to. I don't know how the weather is outside of what you're seeing right now, but it's been really cloudy here in my neighborhood, so I'm drawing clouds around my words. So it's just, you know, it's all about things that are relatable.
I noticed you have a note about thick lines and thin lines.
Yes, so that's just like exploring with balance and like, you know, in my class, we were trying to use simple materials and what can you do with just one pen, you know, what can you do with just one marker? So it's kind of giving them ideas of how they can utilize one thing and create such variety with it. So it's just a way of just creating thicker lines where you can, and just playing with the variety.
Yeah, and I think we only sent out a few colors, but of course, feel free to use your own stash.
That's
and,
right, yeah, whatever you have.
Pump that up.
Yes, who has paint?
Okay, we have about 2 minutes.
All right, so 2 more minutes, everyone. Maybe in 1 minute. You don't have to be done yet. We can just briefly kind of share.
Yeah, and if you stop the screen share for a minute, then you can see everybody. Like I could put on gallery view.
Oh, that'd be awesome. So maybe
Yeah,
one
just
more
for a
minute.
moment. And then, yeah, there we go. So everybody can
Yay.
find out what they have.
Are you all ready? Wow. Look at
Oh,
that.
nice.
I wonder if we could take a picture. I don't know, but you could just share.
That's a good idea. Okay, hold on. I got to grab my phone. See how
Oh.
multi-coordinated we can be. I'm loving some
Wow.
of what I'm seeing. Wow. Everybody went for it.
I love all the individuality. See, this is why
Well
I
done.
really like simple concepts where folks can really just express themselves. That's the main point.
That's
Thank
neat.
you
I see what
all.
Kelly's doing with the like fluffy clouds around the eyelashes. I love how Teresa
Yeah.
has changed, written super large. Yeah. Wow. There's some good stuff there. Well done.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all had fun. That's
Oh,
gorgeous.
this is that's Terry, right? Friendship with the sketch. Neat, Terry.
Those are some students from an organization that the Children's Museum works with. So they did this project in the park. I don't know if you've all been to Balboa Park, but that's where it was, I believe. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, so this is just something else that you can do to tie back into the eye, into the classroom. So my kiddos, they labeled the eye on one side and they actually had that camera. So just like the optics flyer that we talked about, they labeled their eye and then they made their little paper cameras with origami, and some of them tried. So it's a little difficult, but they loved it. They loved every minute of it. And they were able to tell me the connections between what they labeled in their eye and then what they made on their camera, on their paper camera.
And that's a replication of the bookmark that we have in our kit, right?
Yes.
With the QR code.
And it takes that QR code, takes them to a video, and my kiddos use the same QR code, and it takes them through how to make an origami paper camera.
Nice. Do you need special paper for the origami?
Nope, you can use whatever paper.
Okay.
All right. So hello, my name is Leah Amperin, and I have been a STEAM ambassador for about 1.5 years now. I'm currently in the multiple subject credential program at Cal State San Marcos, and I will also be graduating this May, like Tara said earlier. And in my clinical practice, I have been fortunate enough to work in both a kindergarten and a second classroom. All right, so eyes and rainbows. At the end of last semester, the STEAM ambassadors were tasked with a few different STEAM projects to integrate into our own classrooms. And 2 of our amazing colleagues who couldn't be here today were inspired by this IC activity. And what they tried to think about was, what do kids like, their interests, and how those interests could relate to IC activity. And what they ended up finding was that kids love rainbows. So they created this rainbow catcher activity where kids could make rainbows in their own homes, not just on rainy days, but every day. So these are a few of the photos of the rainbow catcher. It's a bit small, but it still creates a nice glistening in whatever room it's placed in, and as the light travels through it. And students can hang these in their windows, and rainbows can dance across their walls. And then the materials for this project should all be packed in a small canvas bag. If you would like to take those out now, so you can make sure you have everything together with you. You'll be using those in just a minute. So in those canvas bags, you should have a small wooden stick or twig, 4 pieces of string. 1 should be longer than the rest, and then 3 shorter strings. You should also have 3 clear prisms and rings, which should be attached to the prisms already, but if they are not, you can attach those yourself. And then an optional material, you might want to have Off to the side would be just a pair of scissors.
And just like Piggy had mentioned with the IC activity, this rainbow catcher activity is also super adaptable for a number of grade levels. So these were just a couple that we put as like the suggested NGSS standards. But so you can see we've included a first grade, a fourth grade, and even a middle school subject. So a bunch of different standards that just involve them being able to like plan and conduct investigations about where like placing objects in light, and developing models to describe light reflecting from objects and entering the eyes. And for the middle school students, like being able to describe how waves are reflected, absorbed, and transmitted through various materials. But again, super adaptable, and it just really depends on what concepts you plan on introducing during this activity. And so some of the concepts that this activity includes are concepts about light and seeing and color. So on the flyer that we created, you will see several QR codes. So one QR code on the front is a full tutorial for how to put together the rainbow catcher. And then on the back side, there's actually 2 QR codes for some Bill Nye videos on light and color and rainbows, which our kids really enjoy watching and just find really enjoyable and engaging, and it's kind of a good hook for getting them involved in the lesson. And then concepts that this activity covers are art concepts like light and pigment color, and then science concepts like what is color, color absorption versus reflection, and refraction, like in how prisms actually work. And then we also recommend you use like cellophane sheets and layers that you can use with the students so that they can use flashlights and shine it through it and see how the light changes when you flash a flashlight through it. And you could also use pigments to discover color theory, and just it helps them learn to see how our eyes see. And you can incorporate the IC activity, talk about cameras, and you can have them make pinhole cameras to explain light concepts. So there's a lot of different activities that you can build in around this little activity. And then as Leah mentioned, we had a couple of our other STEAM ambassadors who were able to actually go to a school in San Diego called the Nature School, and they were able to actually do this activity with a bunch of kiddos, and they had so much fun. They got to do it outside since it was COVID, and it's at the Nature School, and they just had a huge blast. They really enjoyed it. So it's definitely something that kids really are engaged with, and then they come away with this super cool rainbow catcher that they're very excited about.
Hello, everybody. My name's Rebecca. I'm the newest STEAM ambassador. I've been a STEAM ambassador since January, and I am going into the multi-subject credential program this fall. So I'm just going to walk you through how to make the rainbow mobile. It's pretty simple, but can go ahead and break the steps down a little more for your kiddos if need be, depending on the age. So you're going to go ahead and get your 3 shorter pieces of string out. And the first step is to just attach the string to the rings on your crystal. So I'll give you a moment to do that. You can just knot them on there using any knot you like. In the video, which the QR code will take you to, it does actually show the knots that were used. So if you wanted to focus on, using specific knots, you can totally do that. And so we're just kind of following along with the video as well. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump out, or if you need any help. All right, so when we get our crystals attached to our strings, should have all 3 of them on there. So now we're just going to take each of these strings and attach them to the stick. You can, again, use any knot you like, whatever works for you. And this is where you can kind of let the kids make some aesthetic choices too. They can kind of arrange them at different heights and, you know, kind of make their mobile look how they want it. And we did cut all the strings to length so that it kind of removed the need for scissors, but the scissors are just on hand to cut excess string off at the end. So it's not a necessity for the kiddos, really. So just like in the video, we're going to get all of our strings onto our stick. So you should be looking something like this. And then the last step is to just find the long string. And we're just going to attach each end of the long string to one end of the stick. So this is going to be the part that we hang it from.
When you're doing this out in nature or in the park or wherever, did the kids pick their own twigs out? Is that part of it or no?
You could totally incorporate that. I think, I'm not sure when Cody did it at the outside, the school, did they have twigs, Amy, do you know?
I believe that that they brought twigs for them that were like an appropriate like size, but I could totally see how if you were outdoors, you could send them to go find a stick and just tell them like, you're going to look for one about this big or.
Right.
Yeah.
Search out
Yeah,
your
you can
materials.
definitely make the scavenger hunt for materials part of it, especially something like a stick. It would be fun to have them, you know, source their own stick if needed.
Well, I appreciate that you got them together for us.
Yeah, we didn't want you guys to have to source your sticks today.
That would have slowed us down.
So at the end, hopefully, you know, something, it's pretty simple, but it's really cool. And I suggest, I really like command strips, the little command hooks. So those would be really good for windows. Because I know sometimes the suction cups can come down. So then it's really just how do you want to hang it? And obviously we suggest hanging it in direct sunlight so you can get the full rainbow effect. There's a really nice little clip at the end of this video here that kind of shows what it looks like in the house.
I'm just curious how someone from primary would adapt this for those little tiny hands.
I'm definitely seeing a parent helper situation.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you get to the end, if you want to take off the screen share, we could have people hold theirs up and see what we came up with.
This group of nature school students were age grades, I believe 2nd through 5th, who did it on their own pretty successfully, and they were pretty proud of it. And each one had a lot of autonomy in some of the factors in terms of how long each string would be. So each one's pretty unique, even though they are part of a kit.
Lucy, do you want to stop sharing for a second so everybody can hold up their rainbow catcher?
Awesome.
Kelly, I don't know how you're doing all this in your car. Are you in your car?
Yeah,
Like, you're
that's amazing.
She's like, I could teach, I could take a class. I'm driving. I'm taking, it's no problem.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not driving, but I wanted to be here so badly. We made a special stop.
Oh, well, we appreciate you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks so much for participating with us.
Nice job, everybody.
So this is an example assessment that can go along. It's basic assessment, but it can go along with this art project and science project and kind of let you know if your kiddos are understanding the concepts and just kind of help you gauge that they understood all the science concepts that were being taught. And then this would actually be an example of an arts standard that would totally work with this. So with this, you're hitting your science and your art standards, which is really cool. So you can make sure you can use terms like light, color, primary, all of that. Make sure that they're understanding both the art concept and the science concept. So that way they're really getting the STEAM integration. And that's all for my part. I hope you guys enjoy having your rainbow makers up in your room, and I hope you enjoyed experiencing a little bit of science with light.
I see Tessa in the chat was saying, yes, if you measured the strings and sticks, you could also use measurement in math. Very true.
Excellent point.
Great idea.
All right. So
Upper grade, I'd give them a piece and they have to cut out 3 pieces. 4.
That's a good idea too.
all right. So as educators, we are often asked how certain assignments or specific teaching methods are effective in the classroom. And a question that the STEAM ambassadors are often asked is, how is STEAM effective? So after implementing STEAM in our own classrooms and after researching the benefits of STEAM, learned that integrating art into STEAM or into any subject is beneficial for children. And this is supported by a ton of research, which is also linked here in this PowerPoint, which will be sent to you all today, I believe. And you can explore all of that research later when you have a moment. Also, connecting art to the STEM subjects creates a fun and engaging learning environment for students, which helps boost their self-confidence in both school and in life. STEAM also uses many hands-on activities to meet the needs of all learners, all different types of learners. So whether you're a visual learner or auditory, kinesthetic, or tactile, it kind of meets all of those needs. And then also using STEAM in the classroom increases students' levels of inquiry. I know in my own personal experience with teaching in the classroom, we're often asked to develop students' higher order thinking skills. And I see a lot of what do you notice and what do you wonder questions, as I'm sure most teachers do. And so STEAM helps students become better critical thinkers, not only in STEM, but in other subjects as well. And then at the beginning of this lesson, the students had a discussion about what a scientist is and what do they do. And then by the end of this lesson, the students were asked to draw a picture of a scientist doing science. And what the students learned during the duration of this lesson was that anyone can be a scientist. Anyone can do science. So by the time the students got to draw their own picture of a scientist, a lot of them were very reminiscent of themselves. They started to look like the students themselves. And a few students actually gave some commentary about their scientists. They said, my drawing is me because I like science and I like experiments and explosions. Another student said, my scientist is me. And another said, my scientist will be a brown person. So as you can see, this project kind of created more confidence and empathy in these students. And then these are just a couple extra resources that are available to you. Also, if you'd like to explore them later, and it kind of just goes over more of why STEAM is important and the science education and how to implement it into your own classroom.
And that pretty much concludes our webinar today. So we just want to thank you all again for being here and participating with us. And if you're interested in just keeping up with what we're doing and all the ideas that we have, then you can follow us on Instagram. So our Instagram is CSUSM_STEAM_ambassadors. And we're always posting things about like what we're doing in the classroom, different ideas that we have. And like over the summer during COVID, we had some art challenges and STEAM challenges. So you'll see some of those, or you can also go to the CSUSM website /artop/ambassadors, and you can read all about all the stuff that we're up to and kits that we're making. And we'd love to hear from you. And we're going to hang out for a little bit if you have any questions, and then we'd love to answer.
Well, and I want to say a big congratulations to the group. This was so well done and so thoughtful. I encourage you to check out their website, because this was just one that we picked out for our first go of trying this out, sending out kits and doing some STEAM lessons. And Jessica will send out the survey. The good news is, because you are here in person today, you're eligible for a classroom set of these kits. So that's pretty exciting, free of charge to you, that will be mailed to you. So please, please, look at Teresa. I love the face. She's like, so I would really appreciate if you did this survey and gave thoughtful feedback, because what happens is I will send this on to our wonderful group of presenters. And then also, and there's like 4 that are just science questions related to this webinar. So it's really helpful to them. And for me, you know, things that we can tweak, ways we can do this in the future, other lessons we can do. So, you know, please take that 5 minutes to do the survey. And I'm not sure, Jessica, you'll have to let me know, would we already have their addresses, or would I need their address popped into the survey so we know where to mail out their class sets?
I believe they were already entered on OMS, so we should have them already.
Oh yeah, that's right, because we sent you the first group. So, oh, okay, it's my allergies kicking in. But anyway, we'll hang out for a bit. I just really want to thank Dr. Goldberg for approaching me about the idea of us joining forces from, you know, Cal State down kind of at one end of our county. I'm in Riverside, but we extend the Arizona border in Riverside County. We're kind of a large area. So I thank you to the teachers that spent their afternoon with us, and we look forward to sending you those classroom sets. And we'll hang out a little bit if there's any more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
You know, I want to thank, the students are amazing, and so is their professor, Lucy, who's my colleague. And well, I consider all these students my colleagues, and who knows, maybe they'll be your colleagues in next year or the year after as well. They'll be looking for jobs, and they're a really cool group. So yeah, we'd love to have your feedback. You know, now, or any questions you have of them. They've been working so hard. And like Louisa said, this is just one of many kits that they've actually developed. So we'll love to keep at this with Riverside. And in fact, like Tara, yeah, this is just a pilot. Tara is doing her student teaching in Temecula. So, you know, we've got folks up, you know, we share the county with you.
Right. And I was just going to say, teachers, if you want to throw something in the chat, I keep saying this to teachers, like, it gets better. This was the most interesting year ever, right? But, you know, it's a wonderful profession that you're coming into. And I love it just as much 29 years in as I did from day one. And yeah, so please join me in telling them it will be good. It will be good. So. All right, well, we'll hang on, but like I said, if you're, this was so different than every other year. Yep. It's practically indescribable. So, but you know what, we've learned some new tricks, and doing webinars and taping webinars is one of them, and sending out materials. We never did that before. So it's really opened up a whole new group of colleagues. So I'm happy about that. I think we'll continue to do that. That's our goal. Jessica will email it to you. She may have emailed it to you already. She's incredibly fast.
Yeah, it was sent a couple minutes ago.
Let's see. As we're wrapping up, she sends it to you. So, but you know, we love to track the data and keep track of who's coming and what's working, what's not working. And like I said, if you have thoughtful commentary, then that goes on to the presenters. That's really meaningful because, you know, 1 hour of Zoom as a presentation, you know, takes many hours to prepare, right? We've all been there. So, well, I don't think we have any questions. I don't see any. I see some nice comments in the chat though.
Oh, the comments are really sweet. Feel free to unmute and, you know, say something as well.
And I'm never going to get over Kelly in the car. Like, wow, my hero for today. I love that. That's commitment.
This was my great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And Terry usually comes in for our classes, so this is different. How Terry?
That's because I have a science background. I have a bachelor's in biology.
Oh, nice.
So I'm always interested in how can I incorporate the two, and art and science are very similar. They're both a lot of observation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Terry, you should talk about what you did, what you were telling us in the breakout room with the after.
After images.
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried what I've explained to my students. You know, we spend a lot of time on the color wheel and explaining to them how our minds seek out compliments. Our eyes do. So they don't think this is just something somebody made up. So if you stare, and I had high school students do this, they painted a sheet of paper red, just like 5 by 7, put a black dot in the center, and then on their piece of paper next to it, put a black dot in the center, stare at the red for 20 seconds, just stare at it. Shift your eye to the black dot with a white paper, wait a few seconds, you will see a green square. You can do the same thing with purple and yellow and blue and orange. So that kind of wows them and gets them more interested in the color wheel, and I want to know a little bit.
That is just so cool. And I loved what you also said about you did some plein air drawing and for those who don't know what that is, that's drawing outside, you know, drawing things from the outside, right? And while you're outside and you had red brick and you were staring at it, and then you saw like green and you're thinking, how did the grass get on the shadow of the white, you know, pillar? And then you went, oh gosh, it was your mind doing that.
That's right. It was an after image. So the red cones in my eyes were fatigued. They were tired of looking at all that red brick. And so on this white pillar was this green shadow. And I painted that because I love that mint green shadow. Well, I painted an after image.
That's so cool. You know, my first and second graders did the IC activity, and they were so interested in like how our eyes work and how our minds work. So it was just interesting because it took us into like animation. So we started talking about the persistence of like imagery, and we made thaumatropes, like a little old, like 18th century little devices that like are an optical illusion. And then that led us into like Pepper's Ghost holograms. And we built a holographic pyramid out of just like plastic containers like this. It was so cool.
Very good.
I'll just jump in to say that all of these projects and all of the others at the Art Up / Ambassadors website are all created with a lot of thought by these STEAM ambassadors as they're in their credentialing program, really thinking about how to merge these concepts. And when they do it in person, they start adding to them. So in the nature classroom, the STEAM ambassador had the students go out on a scavenger hunt to find things in nature that are transparent, translucent, and opaque. And there's a lot of tactile and fun aspects to these that can be explored in different contexts.
Well, aside from the learning content, I appreciate your kind and generous hearts and for sharing with us. It gives me faith in the profession and who's coming behind us. So I've got a few more years left, but I'm so happy to welcome you and to have your time and expertise, your youth and your energy, and to start this partnership with Lucy and with Meryl and with all of you. So I think with that, I'll wrap it up for today and give me a couple of weeks and this will be up as a tape, like as a video, and I'll let you know so that you can share it with everybody. Sound good? Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.